Hi everyone, my name is Susan. I am an enrolled nurse Scrub Scout, and before I start, I would like to thank the Nurse Break for having me on their platform today. So, I've been an enrolled nurse Scrub Scout for about 8 years. I started out in America. My degree and background is based solely in a theater setting. When moving to Australia, I had to get reaccredited for what I've done, as theater nursing in Australia is very different to theater nursing in America. So, what is a Scrub Scout? A Scrub Scout is a theater nurse who works in an operative setting. We have a specialized set of skills to help the surgeon perform surgeries on the patient. When people ask me what I do at work, I pretty much say I'm that nurse who passes the scalpel to the surgeon. But we have a more in depth skill than just passing the scalpel to the surgeon. According to ACORN standards, that's Australian College of Perioperative Nursing group, they pretty much state that a scrub scout must have a vast knowledge of sterility. We have to understand the instrumentation side of nursing. We have to understand how to handle those instruments, the surgical steps of the procedures, make sure that everything remains in a sterile manner so the patient doesn't get an infection throughout their procedure, and ensure that the count is correct, that just to make sure that the patient doesn't have anything get left behind in the operative site, and then make sure that the documentation is correct. How do you become one? So to become a Scrub Scout, you either first have to be an EN or an RN, depending on the state and the facility you work in. If you are a nursing student, try to have your placement in the perioperative environment and keep in contact with the nurses for future references. Take a perioperative course. The uni and TAFE institutions don't really have a perioperative course. You have to research and see what other facilities out there have additional perioperative nursing course that you can take. Say you want a career change from being a ward nurse to a theater nurse, there are programs where it's called a transition program. You can transition from being a ward nurse to a theater nurse. You just got to talk to your NUM and see what the details are. If you are a new grad, there are grad programs you can apply for, and it's about a year-long program. They rotate you through Scrub Scout, anesthetic side, and recovery side of nursing. You can also look into an agency organization. Sometimes they've got a program there that they can buddy you up with an experienced theater nurse and take you through to the theater setting side. And let's see, type of patients that we care for. So this just depends on what type of surgeries that you want to do. Do you want to be a trauma nurse, an emergent nurse? Other specialties like plastics, urology, cardiac, orthopedic, general. Just all depends on what you want to do when you get into theater nursing. You can have, your critically ill patient or your day surgery patient, where the patient can have their procedure and then go home rather than getting admitted into the ward. Myths and misconception about your role. Most people think that theater nurses don't really get involved with the patient, as they think the patient's asleep under general anesthetic, but that's not true. Theater nurses are very much involved in the patient's journey through their surgery. We admit the patient, we make sure it's the right patient for the right procedure, we make sure we're operating on the correct side, we make sure the patient doesn't have any allergies, and if they do, then we make sure those allergies aren't presented in theaters. And sometimes the patients are undergoing a local anesthetic procedure. So the patient is awake during their operation. So we make sure that we talk to the patient, calm the patient down while they're having their surgery. If the patient have a music request, we play the music for them while we operate. And then once the patient's finished, they go into recovery, and the recovery nurses make sure they're waking up safely, they're not nauseated or having additional pain, and then they get discharged either back home or to the ward. So it's very much an involved procedure. What are your positives and negatives of your clinical area? So the negative side is that it can be quite stressful. Your procedure can go very smoothly, and then all of a sudden the patient has a reaction to anesthetic, and it can be very traumatic. And that's when everyone's got to get together and collaborate to make sure the patient gets revived and back into stable condition. And sometimes you can't prepare for that. You just have to instinctively work together as a team. And every patient is different. We don't get the same patients every day. It's not the same procedures every day. Every single procedure is different. And the positive side is that you see immediate results. If, say, the patient comes in with a broken arm or broken leg, it gets fixed right then and there, and it's all back together. It's a very indescribable feeling, getting to see immediate results. What else? What is a unique piece of equipment in your area? Most people don't know, but we get to work with robots. Depending on the type of procedures, there are different robots for the procedure. It makes the procedure very safe, quick, efficient, and very non-invasive. So in orthopedic, we've got a robot called the Mako, M-A-K-O. And then in general or gynecology or urology, we've got what's called the Da Vinci robot. So D-A-V-I-N-C-I robot. And it's a quite elaborate system. We've got, giant microscope to help with spinal surgeries and microscope to help with cataract surgeries. We work with very big equipment. And tips for students or grad in the area. We do get students a lot, and my advice is just to be involved as much as you can. If that is what you want to be, is a theater nurse, just keep in contact with one of us nurses. Ask us how to get into the grad program, talk to the NUM, introduce yourself. Just be very helpful. And it's as simple as asking questions and being involved in the surgery. I know it's very intimidating for students to come into a theater setting, and you just don't know what you can do to help to make sure you don't break sterility. But just even simply asking, what can I do to help, will put you in the right direction to become a theater nurse. And what do we envision ourselves in 10 years for theater nurses? Well, I really hope that in 10 years' time, unis or TAFE can have a perioperative nurse program being taught, because there's not one for the students, and they come in and you just have really no idea on where to start. It gets to be a theater nurse, you get taught in the facility a lot rather than in school. So hopefully in 10 years' time, there's some form of programs to help students learn about theater nursing while they're undergoing their EN or RN degree. And so that's what I hope in 10 years would be great for nurses to have. Well, I hope I have answered all of your guys' questions. Hopefully it has inspired you to be a theater nurse one day. And thank you for your time. Thank you, Nurse Break. Bye.